second wife, twisting up my tree. GB lanky like a tree, Hawaiian had a lot of OGs. A lot of jewels dropped on me, I knew I was a young king. Was young, lost my moms, I was in the dark. It's the spots, 40 Glock, anything. Moving, not realizing I was my only yogi. Granny passed right after, no one was there to pray that he stopped. No love in my ears, I still had some in the bottom of my heart. 2 years locked down, pop, show me we all that we got. And no matter how down we are, you still can rise to the top. Making sure they respect you and not just what you got. Just stay grounded and God will never let you stop. Someone take this walk with me, with me, with me, with me, with me. Someone take this walk with me, with me, with me, with me. When you're free, life's free.
Stop cap, Lord Jesus.
Someone take this walk with me, with me, with me. Someone take this walk with me, with me, with me. Someone take this walk with me, with me, with me, with me. Oh, 2 years locked down, pop, show me we all that we got. No matter how down we are, you still can rise to the top. Making sure they respect you and not just what you got. Just stay grounded and God will never let you stop. Someone take this walk with me, with me. Someone take this walk with me, with me, with me. Baby, when you're free, life's a breeze. Sometimes you need to go out and see what you need to see. Someone take this walk with me, with me. Take this walk with me. Someone take this walk with me. Yeah. Works if you work it. Works if you work it. Works if you work it. Kick out it, let's go. Kick it out it, let's go. Tune in before the sun's out. We the ones to get up with. So fuck what they all be talking about. Yeah, real news with real results. Every morning we get it out. Mufasa with the politics for these canvas. Show niggas crashing out. You get out what you put in. On your way to work we grooving. Real niggas, real prospectors. Standing firm on business, you know we ain't moving. Funny vids, clips and music. Nobody up like us can do this. Like share and subscribe if you enjoying what we doing. We got what you need to start your day. Why not come and fuck with us before you make your coffee blunt and put them badass kids up on the bus? So wake your ass up. We keep it real, we keep it honest. Early mornings exclusives, we got it. This cat got it, this cat got it. Works if you work it, works if you work it. Works if you work it, works if you work it. Works if you work it, works if you work it. Works if you work it, works if you work it. This cat got a kid that be fucking nutty.
Where your chain went, gotta watch the ladies you nail. Nigga been had flavor care, but I ain't a lick. Taste the shit, this ain't no cake mix. They say this bed's a snake pit. Keep what you can't escape with. Can't be afraid to get bit. I stayed in the mix, it ain't in my nature. Shape shift. The train is alligator scan. Huh? I'm in the mind bag. They trying to stab me in my bag. Already know where my mind at. Drive by some Pontiac.
Yeah, I need to know.
Same price it costs wifey to get a body snatch.
It's about 39 in Philly. Gonna be 45. I don't see any rain in the forecast. I'm gonna have to do some work.
No food, only soup on the menu. My dude on the roof, he ain't bring a fiddle.
Looking alright, man. We in the 40s. Next week is looking really right, man. Look at that shit, boy. What are you talking about, man? Monday 71. It's looking right now, y'all.
All my niggas
Chicago.
Cleaning like they got the drink inside us.
44.
Like them pinky
It's looking a little better.
Gospel work of BB and CC miners.
High at 66. Don't deserve that shit. They'll get snow tomorrow, shit.
This the major leagues, not the minors. Army fatigue with the 9 inside the army lining. Stop that serpent from shining.
LA.
We took his head, it was all perfect timing. The sun and moon and stars was in alignment. We cleaned them up, and that's power of
75, 56. I feel like that Vegas weather I just came from. Ooh, what?
He ran off with the work.
How they get a 90?
We set the temperature and the climate.
It's not bad, LA.
Gave him the assignment.
58, 80 in the Lou, yo.
I got young shooters like Kobe Bryant. For niggas acting defiant, it's all math and
Damn,
science.
80 today?
Don't get chalk, nigga, trying to
80
line us.
Monday?
When you fuck around with New York's finest, lives get lost behind these blood diamonds.
Things are changing for the better.
Pay homage in broad day.
We did Philly.
Straight llamas. I'm in that cave with that cave.
We got Riley, 58, high at 83.
Stack dollars, pirates.
Man, that shit weak as hell. 80s all week. The fuck kind of shit is that? It's March. What are you talking about, nigga? It's March. Fuck that shit. Damn, man. 83 today in Atlanta. Man, fuck. 80 tomorrow, the next 3 days. 80. And we gonna get a 70 on Monday, man. What Detroit got? 50 stick is 60 today. Hold on, what the fuck Philly got? 45? We warming up though. Shit weak as fuck. Houston. 80s. Fuck, man. New Orleans, 80s. Miami, 80s.
I'm in the mind back. They trying
That
to stab
shit.
me in my back.
Raleigh,
I
80s.
know where my mind at. Drive-bys and
Fuck,
Pontiac.
man.
Body snatch for the same price it costs wifey to get a
New
body
York City ain't
snatch.
got that shit. Yeah, they with us,
Shits
nigga.
and giggles, knock the jib loose,
Rio
leave
de
you without a
Janeiro,
tooth,
80. Buffalo, New York, shit. Yeah, that's reality, nigga. 32. How'd they get 54 though? 50 fucking 4? Hold up, man. Hold on, I gotta look at Philly again. 45's the high?
I walked off the whistle, blow a kiss and you miss at the vigil.
Shit's in the
I'm a
fucking
full
way.
individual.
It's 50 in Buffalo, but 45 in Jersey. Let's go to the news, man. Bullshit. So I'm waiting for that motherfucking war, because you niggas ain't watching nothing about that war. I don't know what's going on. Let's go.
I hope you hear me if you listen somewhere. I hope you hear me if you listen out there. I hope you hear me if you listen somewhere. It's crazy how we listen but still don't care. As you were living life without a care, thinking life a joke and the game wasn't fair. But every day's a roller coaster, we ain't at the fair. You realize there's no tough skin once it's spots to tear. Son, come here, pull up chair and lend me your ear. How to beauty earth and walk around with no fear. And keep fuck niggas far and the family near and dear. When you advancing up the ladder, you meet bosses on different tiers. And when you getting money and fly, you might end up on a ladder. Too good with a bad tuba, smoking the Cuba, my wrist is Santa Claudia. Go post up with poppies and might I just throw a party there. Fred Astaire walking up the stairs, some shit face. She in front of me, I smack her ass as I reach out for her waist. Dear man, it's seg, man, you gotta love the taste. From the balcony, she blows while I'm blowing, man, you gotta love her face like Amazing Grace. I hope you hear me if you listen somewhere.
No, that's the shit, yeah. Here we are, man. I gotta get into the fucking. I wanna hear what these celebs got to say. But yeah, Cuba is on the fucking risk of the brink of nothingness. But let's go. I gotta see what's going on. Y'all need to too.
For High Plus News, I'm Bevan. Eddie Griffin and Black people are now responding and sharing what some people are thinking after news broke of the U.S. bombing in Iran. While headlines flash, red alerts, and politicians talk about retaliation and strategy, in living rooms, barbershops, and timelines across America, the reaction is far less patriotic and far more personal. For many, it's not about foreign policy. It's about priorities. It's about schools, underfunded, neighborhoods over police, inflation rising, and veterans still untreated. There's been a long history on the case and bombs that threaten allies and can even reach the U.S. The attack would end up killing Iran's supreme...
President Trump says he's May the 17th, I believe the date is, that his country's
I'm gonna
going
be honest, I don't want to see no niggas talking about this shit. We gotta get straight to the real shit. I don't even know why I added this to the playlist. We don't want to hear no niggas playing around and shit right now. I'm trying to see what's really good. Gas prices going up. That's what y'all want to hear about. We got that.
As the conflict ramps up in the Middle East, people back here at home are feeling the impacts at the pumps.
Elizabeth Alvarez live in Kearney Mesa now as gas prices continue to rise. Liz?
All that shit.
Hi, good morning, you guys. Yeah, be prepared to pay more at the pump. I can tell you that the numbers right now, well, they are going up. In fact, let's take a look right now. We've kind of laid it out for you on where things stand. The current average for regular gas across San Diego County now sits at $4.89. It actually went up another 9 cents overnight. 1 week ago, gas was $4.67 a gallon. That's an increase of 22 cents that you're now paying. Experts say the attack in Iran have led to the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz, which is responsible for a third of the world's oil. It's causing alarm everywhere and driving up oil prices. Meantime, San Diegans say they are feeling stressed out about gas prices creeping up.
$5 is kind of ridiculous considering that I'm driving a Toyota Corolla. I used to be able to fill up with $40, believe it or not, like it's $10 more. Hoping they won't go up too much more, just because if I'm spending money on gas, there's not really a lot left for anything else.
So here at the Chevron on Balboa Avenue, take a look. Gas is averaging at $5 for regular, about $5.50 if you need to pay premium. Now, in addition to gas going up because of the war, you've also got the summer blend that will come into play very soon here in California. So you'll want to get ready for that. We'll have more on that and reaction from Governor Gavin Newsom about what is happening with gas prices and what his team plans to do about it. That's coming your way in the next hour. We are live this morning in Kearney Mesa. We'll send things back to you.
A Fox News alert. Nowhere to hide. U.S. forces hunting down Iran's missile launchers while Israel launches a new round of strikes overnight. We are live in Israel in just seconds.
Plus, the race is on in North Carolina, where Republicans hope they can hold a crucial Senate seat. Michael Watley is the party's nominee.
The Iranians are responding with ballistic missile fire, but we're getting some new video this morning from the IDF showing an Israeli F-35 shooting down an Iranian plane over the skies just outside of Tehran. This is the first war kill in the air for the Israelis since 1980. And as this story develops, the Israelis say they're going to control the skies of Iran in the hours and days ahead. And they are trying to take out as many of these ballistic missile launching positions as possible as they do so. Overnight, there were more interceptions over Tel Aviv as 3 separate rounds of ballistic missiles woke up the civilian population, sending them into bomb shelters. Another round of missiles was launched this morning. New strikes are taking place in Iran, going after much of the regime's structure, trying to neutralize the threat against Israel. And as this is taking place, we understand, according to an Israeli official, that they have broadly neutralized the regime structure that was used to crack down on Iranian protesters earlier this year. Israel's also looking north to Lebanon, where they continued to strike the Lebanese capital of Beirut, going after the Iran-backed proxy Hezbollah there. Finally, I do want you to take a listen to a top military spokesman in Israel who provided an update on the situation.
With each passing day, the Iranian terror regime is weakening and losing its grip. We continue to strike Hezbollah systematically and to hunt down its operatives throughout the country.
And we do know that they are losing their ability to launch more ballistic missiles. Despite the fact sirens are sounding, these barrages are much smaller. And as a result, just 2 minutes ago, Israel's Homefront Command changed their guidelines from essential activity to limited activity. This means that people will be able to gather in groups of 50 or less, and they'll be able to see friends and family and leave their houses in a way maybe that they haven't done before as a result of this conflict. Guys?
That seems like a significant change. Trey, I want to ask you a little bit more about the geopolitical ramifications of all this. China reportedly sending a special envoy to the Middle East to conduct mediation efforts. But what do you think? Is this about, quote unquote, de-escalating the crisis? Or is this China saying, hey, I think we may have picked the wrong horse in this race, and they're really worried about the flow of cheap oil to them is going to dry up?
Yeah, there's a lot of implications to this story, and energy is one of the key storylines here that we're following out of the Gulf. When we look at Qatar shut down its LNG, liquefied natural gas production, for the first time in 30 years. And this is a major development. It's going to have ripple effects across the energy markets. And so the Chinese and the Russians and others are looking at this, and they are understanding that they have an ally in the region, which is Iran, and they're not doing very well on the battlefield. And so this is not surprising that this delegation and official from Beijing is coming to the region, but we can expect many officials from around the world to get involved. We heard yesterday from the Trump administration that there were offers from more than 10 different countries to try and mediate or have conversations. But U.S. officials say the time for talking was before this war began, and at this point they plan to degrade the Iranian regime and what's left of its military.
Okay, Trey Inks, thanks so much. And we're going to go now to Doug Luzader with the new developments on Operation Epic Fury out of Washington. Doug.
Good morning. We're going to see the debate over the war heating up again today on Capitol Hill. But let's start with that extraordinary attack on the Iranian Navy by a U.S. submarine. The Pentagon just released some stunning video, and that is a U.S. submarine sinking a big Iranian frigate with a torpedo. That is the first such attack since World War II. Iran's Navy is all but wiped out, according to Pentagon leaders, and the U.S. military also firing off long-range, precision-guided munitions for the first time in combat. President Trump was asked yesterday for a grade on the war effort so far.
We're doing very well on the war front, to put it mildly, I would say. Somebody said, on a scale of 10, where would you rate it? I said about a 15. And we're going to continue to do well. We have the greatest military in the world by far.
Now, this combined U.S.-Israeli effort has significantly degraded Iran's ability to launch missiles at targets in the region.
I think if the goal of the administration is to render Iran incapable of using its military forces outside of its borders, of threatening our neighbors, our allies, of threatening our bases abroad, which we're seeing they are capable of doing. If it is trying to deny them a conventional umbrella for their nuclear ambitions, that is a worthy goal.
Back here on Capitol Hill, we expect the House to take up a war powers resolution to limit the president's authority to attack Iran. But a similar effort in the Senate yesterday failed to pass, mostly along party lines. And later today, War Secretary Pete Hegseth heading to Tampa to visit U.S. Central Command there, getting an update on Operation Epic Fury. Todd and Ashley.
Okay, Doug Luzader live in Washington. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
And just hours ago, Israel announcing that it intends to open skies for outbound flights starting on Sunday. The decision being made is Qatar Airways limits the number of flights from Oman and Saudi Arabia. And the State Department also says additional flights will surge to help people trapped in the Middle East. Joining us now is one of the 66 American citizens who has just escaped Israel with the help of veteran-led Grable Rescue. Pastor Randy Helms just arrived in Jordan in the last hour and joins us live with the founder of Grable Rescue and combat veteran Brian Stern, who is also in Jordan continuing the evacuation efforts. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on with us this morning. This is very important to talk about. But Pastor, I want to talk to you first about this. You got to Jordan within the last hour or so. Walk us through this process.
Well, we were desperate.
Evacuation. I mean, we're going to hear about bodies, but evacuation process.
The United States military, together with the wonderful Israeli partners, continues to totally demolish the enemy far ahead of schedule and at levels that people have never seen before, actually. We're destroying more of Iran's missiles and drone capability every single hour, knocking them out like nobody thought was possible. Their Navy is gone. 24 ships in 3 days. That's a lot of ships.
That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Anti-aircraft weapons are gone. So they have no air force. They have no air defense. All of their airplanes are gone. Their communications are gone. Missiles are gone. Launches are gone. About 60% and 64% respectively. Other than that, they're doing quite well. I said, what's left? But they're tough, and they want to fight.
They want to fight.
And they're calling. They're saying, how do we make a deal? I said, you're being a little bit late.
You're a little late on the deal.
We want to fight now more than they do.
Oh, word.
And I'm once again calling on all members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the military, and the police to lay down their arms. They're only going to be killed. And now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. You're going to have a chance after all these years to take back your country. Accept immunity. We'll give you immunity. And we'll be giving you really the right side of history, because that's what it is.
Dang.
So you'll be perfectly safe with total immunity, or you'll face absolutely guaranteed death. And I don't want to see that. They don't want to see it either.
Damn.
We begin tonight with the breaking news on the war in Iran, the war widening tonight. The Pentagon saying we're just getting started and striking deeper into Iran. And tonight, a U.S. submarine sinking an Iranian warship. Tonight, the Pentagon releasing extraordinary images showing a U.S. fast attack submarine. For the first time since World War II, firing a torpedo to sink an Iranian warship. 180 on board, sinking in the Indian Ocean. At least 32 Iranian sailors rescued. Tonight, U.S. Central Command reporting more than 20 Iranian ships have been struck or sunk. Iran's retaliation across the region, drawing more than a dozen nations into this conflict. A UK fighter jet shooting down an Iranian drone over Jordan. NATO intercepting a missile over Syria headed for Turkey. An image showing a man standing near an unexploded missile near the airport in northeastern Syria. More explosions reported in Tehran. Meanwhile, Secretary Pete Hegseth revealing the mastermind behind the 2024 plot to assassinate Donald Trump has been killed. And tonight we're learning more about the Army reservists killed during an Iranian attack in Kuwait. The Americans. Sergeant First Class Nicole Moore was just days away from returning home to her husband and 2 children. 20-year-old Sergeant Declan Cody described as the rock of his family. Tonight, his sister right here describing the moment the doorbell rang. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell leading us off from the region again tonight.
Tonight, the war with Iran rapidly expanding. For the first time since World War II, the U.S. Navy sinking an enemy ship with a torpedo fired from a fast attack submarine. Extraordinary video from the periscope of that American sub showing the massive explosion before the Iranian warship with 180 people on board sank to the bottom of the Indian Ocean.
America is winning decisively, devastatingly, and without mercy.
The torpedo attack happened off the coast of Sri Lanka. Authorities there recovering dozens of bodies, saying only 32 people were rescued. That ship, one of at least 20 Iranian Navy vessels, the U.S. says it's destroyed. Tonight, the Trump administration claiming U.S. and Israeli forces control the sea and the skies over Iran. President Trump saying the U.S. is in a very strong position.
We're in very good shape now.
I mean, appreciate that. As we continue to update on this war.
I'll let you know that, and we will continue forward. But it's a great display of military strength.
The Pentagon saying there are now more than 50,000 troops in the Middle East, with more on the way. The U.S. now set to strike deeper into Iranian territory.
More and larger waves are coming. We are just getting started. Yes. We are accelerating, not decelerating. Iran's capabilities are evaporating by the hour, while American strength grows fiercer, smarter, and utterly dominant.
With officials revealing the current operation has delivered twice the air power of the shock and awe campaign of Iraq in 2003. Tonight, the Pentagon downplaying concerns U.S. missile stockpiles could run low if the war drags on.
We have sufficient precision munitions for the task at hand, both on the offense and defense. I appreciate the interest, but just know that we consider that an operational security matter.
There are also questions tonight about the number of US interceptors across the Middle East being used by multiple countries to try to block these Iranian missiles and drones. Will the interceptors last? Because military officials say it takes 2 or 3 of them to shoot down just one Iranian ballistic missile. And experts predict Iran had a stockpile of more than 2,000. Tonight, Iran launching a new wave of strikes across the Gulf. A UK fighter jet shooting down an Iranian drone over Jordan. NATO saying it intercepted an Iranian ballistic missile over Syria that was heading for Turkey, as images emerge of an Iranian missile that slammed into a Syrian field. But US and Israeli officials say the Iranian attacks have slowed down. And from inside Iran, a harrowing account from a young anti-government activist in Tehran, bravely speaking out. We're not naming her to protect her identity.
It is very, very dangerous outside. Everybody from the regime has the gun. Most of them are very ugly and furious, and they have free will to shoot everybody. They don't think about anything.
She says people are happy the supreme leader's dead, but worried the war will stop before the regime is gone. The Red Crescent reporting over 1,000 deaths, with Iranian officials expected to elect a new supreme leader. One potential candidate, Ayatollah Khamenei's own son, Mujtaba, a hardliner likely to stick to his father's legacy, according to Iranian officials familiar with the deliberations. Israel's defense minister warning if Iran's new leader followed the same path as Khamenei, he would become an unequivocal target for elimination. Tonight, the US confirming the Iranian Revolutionary Guard commander, identified as the mastermind behind the 2024 plot to assassinate President Trump, has also been killed.
The leader of the unit who attempted to assassinate President Trump has been hunted down and killed. Iran tried to kill President Trump, and President Trump got the last laugh.
And so let's bring in Ian Pannell with us live from Tel Aviv again tonight. And Ian, we've taken viewers here on these U.S. submarines before. We were on the USS Florida in the Eastern Mediterranean as it prepared for a highly classified mission. At the time, we saw the extraordinary firepower these submarines have, those torpedoes on board. We've not seen a deadly torpedo attack since 1945. The Pentagon tonight saying it was a Mark 48 torpedo they fired at that Iranian warship.
Yeah, that's right, David. The Pentagon saying it was the same type of torpedo that you saw and used with devastating firepower. So many Iranian sailors killed in that attack. And I think it shows the lengths to which the US is prepared to go to crush Iran's military capabilities. David?
Ian Pannell leading us off here again tonight. Ian, thank you.
And yesterday, my administration announced decisive action to help keep down the oil prices, including offering political risk insurance for tankers transiting into the Gulf, as you know, pretty dangerous territory. Further action to reduce pressure on oil is imminent, and the oil seems to have pretty much stabilized. We had it very low, but I had to take this little detour if it's okay with everybody. Scott, it's okay with you? Scott's the one who has to put up with it. He said, you have to do this now? I said, I have to do it, Scott, right? But it's been very strong, and everybody, including Scott, everybody feels we had really no choice. They were going to hit us if we didn't hit them, because they're crazy.
They have no navy. It's been knocked out. Those were the words of US President Donald Trump on March 3rd, following 48 hours that had utterly ruined Iran's naval fleet. Iran challenged the US. That was a mistake. Bombs and missiles flew, and Iran's entire fleet was wiped out in just 2 days. This is historically bad for Iran, and it's only going to get worse for a regime that is collapsing before our eyes. After initial American and Israeli strikes on Iran wiped out a huge chunk of the country's leadership, Iran responded with attacks on several US military bases. Okay, the US said, we see your base attacks and we'll raise you with the destruction of your entire naval fleet. US Tomahawks flew in an operation that overwhelmed any strategy that Iran's navy had, and the results speak for themselves. Iran has lost 11 of its warships, along with several of its attack submarines, and the US has unleashed a devastating wave of firepower that serves as a reminder to Iran's crumbling regime, as if one was needed, that anything Iran can try is just going to be met with a bigger and far more devastating response from the US.
That's the best
In a few
part.
minutes, we're going to explain how the US left Iran's entire navy crippled in just 48 hours. Before we do, let's take a deeper look at the results. We can sum it up in 7 words: the Gulf of Oman has been emptied. That's according to the US Central Command, or CENTCOM, which took to X to explain what it pulled off in just 2 days. 2 days ago, the Iranian regime had 11 ships in the Gulf of Oman. Today, they have 0. The Iranian regime has harassed and attacked international shipping in the Gulf of Oman for decades. Those days are over, CENTCOM declared.
That's a good update.
There's a hint here about why the US took aim at Iran's navy. We'll get into later, but the big news here is that some of Iran's most important warships are out of the war just days into the fight, destroying Iran's naval posture in an instant.
Damn.
And we don't have to take CENTCOM's word for it. Satellite photographs are already emerging that showcase the scale of the damage that America's strikes have caused. The Iris Makran, which is Iran's first forward-based ship, is down. That vessel was struck while it was moored in Bandar Abbas, naval news reports. And it means that the US has taken out what was once an oil tanker, but has since become a military vessel capable of supporting helicopter operations. With a displacement of 120,000 tons, the Iris Makran was among the largest vessels in the Middle East region. Now, satellite photographs show fires on its berth and smoke streaming out of the warship's central portion. A Jamaran-class corvette that was stationed at a pier in Chabahar has also been taken out, armed with anti-ship and surface-to-air missiles along with torpedoes. This type of ship was supposed to be central to Iran's naval strategy. Iran has 6 of them, and at least one now stuck at Konarak Naval Base with smoke streaming out of it. The list goes on and on. The Telegraph reveals that satellite imagery captured by Planet Labs shows the Bandar Abbas region, where at least 11 of Iran's warships were docked as recently as February 22nd, is now blanketed in a smog of thick black smoke following America's heavy bombing campaign. The remains of the Iris Makran can be seen in the photos that the Telegraph shares. However, the biggest hit came against Iran's best warship, the Iris Shahid Bagheri. The closest thing that Iran has to an aircraft carrier, the Iris Shahid Bagheri, is the center of Iran's mobile drone threat. Referred to by WION as a mothership, the vessel has been used by Iran to launch drones at US bases and Gulf countries from the moment that the US campaign against Iran began. Like the Iris Makran, the Iris Shahid Bagheri started life as a commercial ship that Iran converted into a warship, which perhaps gives us an idea of why Iran's navy isn't all that the country's regime needed it to be. What we've seen over the past 48 hours is what weapons built for war can do when they target commercial ships converted for war. The UK Defence Journal adds that the Iris Shahid Bagheri has also been converted to launch and retrieve helicopters, making it an even bigger threat than its drone usage implies. But now it's gone. I guess you could say it's the first aircraft carrier to be sunk since World War II, Cappy Army says Riley in his coverage of the US blitz of Iran's naval assets. That might be a little bit of a stretch, at least when comparing the Iris Shahid Bagheri to US carriers such as the USS Abraham Lincoln, which has been playing a key role in this story. But the warship was among Iran's best, and its loss will sting because it means that the country's strategy of unleashing drones against America's bases and vessels has just taken a massive hit. Already reeling, Iran's regime would have been wondering how it could get any worse during the 48 hours of destruction that the US unleashed. It could get worse, and it did. The Telegraph explains, reporting, US forces have also mostly destroyed the headquarters of the Iranian naval fleet in the port of Bandar Abbas, while Ali Shamkhani, an admiral in Iran's elite Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, has been killed in an Israeli airstrike. So Iran has lost its entire fleet in the Gulf of Oman. Its naval headquarters has been devastated, and one of its top admirals is 6 feet under. This isn't just bad for Iran, it's historically bad. And there will be Iranians of a certain age who will feel a massive sense of deja vu right now. Iran has been here before, watching on helplessly as the US crippled the country's entire fleet. This has to feel like Operation Praying Mantis, only with a major twist that we'll explain if you stick with us. During the late 1970s and into the 80s, Iran made a habit of attacking the US. 1979 saw Iranian revolutionaries take 52 Americans hostage, holding them for 444 days. The US launched the Desert One rescue mission, which failed catastrophically and left 8 US service members dead. In 1983, an Iranian suicide bomber killed 241 US Marines and sailors in Beirut. And 4 years later, the US experienced more Middle East humiliation when an Iraqi jet attacked the USS Stark, killing 37 US sailors. Then came April 18, 1988. Operation Praying Mantis was launched. and in a matter of hours, the US destroyed a pair of Iranian oil platforms, a missile boat, 2 frigates, and 3 armed speedboats. In a matter of hours, half of Iran's navy had been crippled in what was the worst blow delivered in modern times to a navy that had existed since the First Persian Empire over 2,500 years ago. Note the word was. Operation Praying Mantis will feel like a picnic compared to what just happened to Iran's navy. Now here's the twist. While older Iranians will be feeling a sense of deja vu over what just happened, they'll also be asking themselves how it happened at all. Iran has been preparing for this type of fight with the United States ever since Operation Praying Mantis. That single day led to a complete rewrite of Iranian naval doctrine to ensure that nothing like the 1980s embarrassment would ever happen again. They came up with a plan to overwhelm American ships with swarms of fast attack boats, Cappy Army explains, adding, they planned to fire land-based anti-ship missiles at US forces. They had a whole strategy of using their submarines to ambush US vessels. Knowing that it couldn't stack up to the US on the pure naval firepower front, Iran had developed a layered and asymmetric strategy that was supposed to see its fast attack boats slip in and out of range, delivering shots as they went, all while Iran's submarines and missiles pelted anything that the US sent Iran's way. But nothing went according to Iran's plan. And the reason why is that Iran had been preparing for an attack like Operation Praying Mantis, and the US delivered something entirely different. But before we go deeper into that, if this is the kind of insight you want more of, make sure you're subscribed to the Military Show. We break it down like this every single week. Iran's biggest problem during America's 48-hour blitz of its navy was that it never saw the particular tactics that the US used coming. A naval doctrine created in the 1990s to counter the type of threat that ruined Iran's navy in the late 80s was never going to work. Iran had planned for what amounted to a ship-to-ship fight, which is where its fast attack boats would have a chance to excel. The Iranian regime thought its navy would be able to confine the much larger US ships in constricted waters, such as the Strait of Hormuz, which we'll be covering in a few minutes. Stuck in those waters, America's ships would be sitting ducks for the missiles launched from the fast boats, along with torpedoes fired by submarines and drones launched from Iran's makeshift aircraft carriers. But by 2026, the US knew what Iran was going to do. Persistent drone coverage combined with other forms of intelligence meant that the US knew where Iran's boats were at all times. Iranian warships haven't been able to get close to what the US has sent to the Persian Gulf region, because military tech, as surprising as this appears to have been for Iran, has advanced since the 1990s. So has America's strategy. Iran ended up bringing a knife to a gunfight, and the US said, screw you. America wasn't about to play the fast boat game. Its strategy was simple and utterly devastating. Ruin Iran's fleet using Tomahawk missiles launched from so far away that Iran's entire naval strategy wouldn't be able to make it out of port. The US used the anti-ship missiles that Iran was expecting it to use during Operation Praying Mantis. But in 2026, as part of Operation Epic Fury, the US unleashed Tomahawk cruise missiles at Iran's navy. Those missiles have a much longer standoff range than anything that Iran expected the US to use, which means the warships and platforms used to launch them never get within range of Iran's warships. The Iris Makran was a casualty of this very strategy, as Tomahawk missiles launched from hundreds of miles away slammed into the ship, one after the other and in such rapid succession that whatever defenses Iran had loaded into the vessel never had a chance to stop what the US unleashed. Those Tomahawks were likely launched by the Ali Burke-class destroyers that Iran expected to be getting up close and personal with its fast attack boats, and with their 1,600-kilometer or around 1,000-mile range, those missiles were the only thing that Iran's idling warships saw before they were destroyed. Iran was waiting for America's warships to arrive so that it could put its naval doctrine into practice. What it got was a horde of powerful missiles, and Iran's sinking navy never even saw the ships that fired them. Then there was the follow-up. Max Afterburner explains in his examination of America's 48 hours of epic fury, stating, with Iran's navy basically being a pincushion at this point, soaking up these Tomahawk missiles, F-35s followed up, likely with JDAM bombs, for precision cleanup. This was a genius strategy by the US. It subverted Iran's expectations by striking Iran's warships from afar, and when those ships were already in disarray, the US got up close and personal in ways that Iran never expected. This wasn't a naval battle. It was demolition of a force that had been set up specifically to counter a type of threat that the US never intended to present. And it led to America negating every tactic that Iran had in just 48 hours. As the US Naval Institute, or USNI, reveals, the US has been geared up for Iran's naval tactics for years, which is what has led to America conducting such a destructive campaign against Iran's navy. Iran has flaunted this asymmetric naval force of missile, midget submarines, naval mines, and anti-ship missile batteries in its threats to shut down the Strait of Hormuz in previous years. American naval forces in the region have been geared against these swarm threats, including Hellfire-armed Seahawk helicopters aboard Abraham Lincoln, USNI says. The mention of the Strait of Hormuz brings us back to what we mentioned about Iran's strategy of constricting US warships and why it all fell apart for the regime. However, what we're now seeing may not quite be what you think you're seeing. On the surface, America's firestorm of Tomahawk Fury seems to be about destroying Iran from a military perspective. It isn't, at least not entirely. That's according to Dr. Andreas Boehm, who is an expert on the Middle East working out of Switzerland's University of St. Gallen. Boehm tells The Telegraph, "If you compare their navy with Donald Trump's big beautiful armada, it's more like a dwarf." He adds, "It's been very much weakened by sanctions, its material is outdated, and when you look at the Air Force, for example, mostly all the aircraft is from the Shah era and is US built, it's really old." In other words, Iran is nowhere near as strong as it presents itself to be, whether that's on the naval or aerial fronts. So what the US just pulled off wasn't really about weakening Iran's military, merely because that military and its navy never truly presented a threat to the US in the first place. What America's 48 hours of strikes are really all about is making sure that the Strait of Hormuz can be reopened as quickly as possible after Iran tried to shut up shop in the wake of the initial hours of Operation Epic Fury. The US needs that strait to stay open, as does most of the rest of the world. And the reason why is that the Strait of Hormuz is among the most important transit routes. Iran may not be capable of presenting much of a kinetic threat to the US, Boehm declares, but what they are capable of is asymmetric warfare, and we can see this in the Strait of Hormuz, where insurance prices have skyrocketed and companies are refraining from sending their ships through. On the crude oil front, The Guardian reports that about 20% of all crude oil shipments have to pass through the Strait of Hormuz at some point. About 12.5% of all the oil used by countries on the American continents transits through the strait, which is dwarfed by the 45.7% of oil that China receives from tankers that sail through the Strait of Hormuz. This single passage of water is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and Iran has been trying to take advantage of that fact by using its navy to lean on the one piece of leverage that it has in this entire conflict. Ebrahim Jabari, who is a senior advisor to the Commander-in-Chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, made that abundantly clear on March 2nd when he said, "The strait is closed. If anyone tries to pass, the heroes of the Revolutionary Guard and the regular Navy will set those ships ablaze." Jabari has also claimed that Iran will start attacking oil pipelines in the coming day, and he claims that the price of oil will reach $200 per barrel. This is obvious grandstand, but there is a seed of legitimacy to these claims, given Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. However, maintaining that control requires warships, even if they are just the fast attack boats that Iran deploys. The US has just taken those ships out of the equation. Still, Iran's attempts to blockade the Strait of Hormuz have been successful up to this point. Kapiami says that though some ships are going dark and trying to pass through, total transits via the strait are down by 80%. This has always been their greatest leverage, geopolitically speaking, to inflict maximum pain on global markets, Kapiami adds. By taking away that leverage, the US also takes away the last scrap of hope that Iran had that it would come out on top in the war. Not that you would know that if you listen to Iran's propagandists. They've already claimed that Iran unleashed a hailstorm of ballistic missiles against the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is a claim that the US quickly debunked by releasing photographs of that aircraft carrier still very much in operation. Iran has also unleashed around 400 missiles and 1,000 drones against Gulf states such as Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. However, as Kapiami points out, this seemingly impressive number is actually far below what Iran unleashed in the wake of Operation Midnight Hammer in the summer of 2025, which saw the US and Israel take out much of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. It's all starting to feel like what we're seeing right now is the dying gasp of a regime that is trying to project power as everything that it's built falls apart. The Iranian naval doctrine didn't work. Scratch that, Iran's naval doctrine was so catastrophically flawed that it didn't account for the possibility the US might use anything other than anti-ship missiles to attack the Iranian fleet. As soon as the US changed just one piece of strategy that Iran expected it to use, Iran's warships were toast. And to make matters worse for Iran, the US is just getting started. That's according to US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who spoke to reporters on March 2nd to say that what Iran is dealing with now is nothing compared to what's coming. The hardest hits are yet to come from the US military, Rubio declared, adding that the US has done what it's done so far to destroy the imminent threat that Iran posed. Now we're seeing fronts opening up all over the Middle East as Iran's proxies, such as the Houthis, go on the attack. But for Iran's regime, the damage has already been done to a navy that was expected to put up far more of a fight than it has. Iran thought it knew what was coming from the US. In just 48 hours, the US shattered Iran's naval doctrine, and it's well on the way to stripping away one piece of leverage that Iran has in this fight. And deep in the heart of Moscow, there is one man who will be watching everything that is happening with increasing levels of distress. Russian President Vladimir Putin knows that the collapse of Iran's regime spells bad things for Russia. And to find out why, check out our video, where we dive into what started the fight between the US and Iran and what it means for Russia. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the military.
Great video.
Israel has issued evacuation notices for the entirety of Beirut's southern suburbs as its conflict with the Hezbollah militant group intensifies. The announcement stirred panic across the Lebanese capital. All the main roads have been gridlocked for hours amid fears of ongoing military escalation in the days-long conflict. Over 95,000 people have already been displaced, and now that number is expected to soar as Israel continues striking the country. Lebanon's top political leadership, meanwhile, has scrambled in a desperate bid to defuse tensions, including a call to French President Emmanuel Macron, who has urged Hezbollah to stop its rocket fire and for Israel to refrain from a ground invasion and any sort of escalation. Hezbollah leader Naim Qassem, in his first address since the onset of the conflict, said the group's rocket fire is an act of self-defense after near-daily Israeli strikes since the end of their last war in late 2024. And has vowed to continue fighting. Lebanon's cash-strapped authorities, meanwhile, are rushing to open shelters and provide aid for the growing number of displaced people fleeing their homes. Many are unable to find space in crowded schools and are opting to sleep in their cars or on the streets as they search for a place to stay.
We're destroying more of Iran's missiles and drone capability every single hour, knocking them out like nobody thought was possible. As soon as they set off a missile, within 4 minutes, the launcher gets hit. They don't know what's happening.
I don't know what's happening.
But we have the greatest military anywhere in the world. Their Navy is gone. 24 ships in 3 days. That's a lot of ships. They're
already did this. They're trying to make a deal. It's either make the deal or death. I mean, I think we already went over this. He already said it.
I said, you're being a little bit late, and what's left. But they're tough, and they want to fight. And they're calling, they're saying, how do we make a deal? I said, you're being a little bit late, and we want to fight now more than they do.
Now we want to
Will
fight.
you make a public commitment today to rule out U.S. regime change?
This is good. This is Cash Jordan. Great videos. Very recent. Don't believe me, just watch 21 hours ago. This is great because Cuba, see, when America fucks with you, they fuck with everybody that fucks with you. I like that. When America fucks with you, they fuck with everybody that fucks with you, yo. And this is a good episode on what's going on with Cuba.
Change in Cuba.
Regime change?
Yes.
Oh no, I think we would love to see the regime change.
Oil.
We would like to.
See, the things you can't do when it comes to like no gas or gas going up, like at least there's gas prices to skyrocket for you to cop it. But then there's gonna be some places where we ain't gonna give you no oil. Meaning, how you gonna farm, go to work, get on the bus, fly your planes? Now we got a fucking issue, man. I mean, people got to understand, gas going up isn't as bad as, how about we just don't give you no oil? And we're about to find out what it does.
That doesn't mean that we're going to make a change, but we would love to see a change.
So, as a U.S. blockade puts the brakes on communist Cuba's plans to continue exploiting its own people, the writing is on the wall. Because without fuel and electricity, the despots running this island prison are calculating their chances of survival, not in years or months, but in just days and weeks, as their regime grinds to a halt. While they find themselves surrounded and isolated with zero chance of escape.
Rubbish on the streets, bikes to get around, power only by torchlight. This, the state of Cuba, desperately running out of oil supplies because it's reliant on Venezuela for fuel, and the US blocking imports of oil from there threatens to grind this island to a halt.
They cut the electricity here every day, leaving us without power for 4, 5, 6 hours.
Ordinary Cubans are struggling to adapt. Vehicle owners are limited to 20 litres of petrol, purchased through an app with long wait times.
You gotta purchase gas through an app.
What does taking away Venezuelan oil mean for the country of Cuba?
A total collapse. When you are short diesel, now you're talking about transport. You're talking about diesel for the tractors and agriculture.
Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel says he's ready for talks without U.S. pressure or preconditions. Mexico, China, Russia, all calling for resolution through dialogue.
Cuba is right now a failed nation. They don't even have jet fuel to get for airplanes to take off. They're clogging up their runway. We're talking to Cuba right now. They should absolutely make a deal because it's really a humanitarian threat.
This is good.
So this right here tells you everything you need to know about those who want to see Cuba's regime survive. And what nobody's talking about is this regime right here. It continues to be a threat to its own people as well as the rest of the world because it's a puppet state for America's enemies like Russia, who for years have used this tiny little island off the coast of Florida as a base to threaten our entire hemisphere. Something the Soviets can only do if they prop up the criminals running this island by importing fuel and supplies and everything else, which is nearly impossible as the Trump administration continues capturing these dark fleet tankers while simultaneously offering Venezuelan and U.S. oil in exchange for regime change. And the fall of Cuba, which is literally days away, is going to be absolute nightmare news for Russia because with Venezuela gone and Iran out of the picture, this was the last place that gave them a foothold in our hemisphere.
Listen to that again.
Absolute nightmare news for Russia because with Venezuela gone and Iran out of the picture, this was the last place that gave them a foothold in our hemisphere. And it's the last piece of the sanctions evading machine these regimes all helped establish. But the good news is that with peace coming to South America in a way the world never envisioned, the gears of freedom and capitalism are in a position to once again bring people out of poverty the second the regime in Cuba disappears, which is all but assured now that their nearby lifelines, like a formerly communist Venezuela, are gone. Which brings us to the real reason this island dictatorship is steps away from collapse. It is impossible for a foreign adversary like Russia on the other side of the globe to supply this place with everything it needs and prop it up from that far away. It's just not going to happen. And Cuba was staying afloat because of imports from Mexico and Venezuela. And since those are no longer coming in, the regime here is doomed. And once it collapses and its people are freed, not only will prosperity march through the streets of Havana for the first time in decades, but the anti-Western access of cartel-friendly criminal countries teaming up to evade U.S. sanctions and spread mayhem while being backed by China and Russia is gonna disappear. But now the question is, how bad are things in Cuba right now, and can their government avert what many say is an impending implosion?
Playing dominoes by torchlight. This is how one Cuban family passes the time during a blackout. Power cuts like this are happening more and more frequently due to the country's fuel shortage.
They cut the electricity here every day, leaving us without power for 4, 5, 6 hours.
Wow. That's crazy.
Since Donald Trump removed Venezuela's leftist leader, Nicolas Maduro, in January, the U.S. has prevented Caracas from supplying oil to Cuba and threatened to impose sanctions on any country that does.
This is incredibly tragic that average people who don't run the communist Cuban government have to go through this. But everything we're seeing on the screen here, it is not the fault of the United States whatsoever. No, instead it is the fault of an economic system that does not allow the common man to pull himself up out of poverty. This is communism 101 that is to blame for everything we're seeing here. And this is the communist playbook. What the regime here is doing is it is holding out its people as hostages in front of the entire world, subjecting them to a humanitarian crisis so that they can maintain their power. Is this a human rights nightmare? Absolutely, but it's been going on for decades. This is not a new phenomenon in Cuba whatsoever. And Cuba hasn't ground to a halt recently because of Donald Trump. No, that happened decades ago when it stopped being free, and that's why the cars are so old. This whole place shows the signs of being stuck in the past with absolutely no future the longer this regime stays in power. And to understand how these regimes use their own people as a bargaining chip, so to speak, the second oil and fuel flow back into this country, things are going to power up again. Life's going to get a little bit better for people who still have no freedom and are ultimately still oppressed, and the regime is going to stay in power. At least that's how things have worked for a long time, but as you're about to see, that could soon change.
With fuel dwindling in Cuba, the United Nations says the country is facing a potential humanitarian collapse. And today, Cuban leader Miguel Diaz-Canel says he's ready to speak with President Trump. Cuba is willing to engage in dialogue with the United States on any topic, but without pressure or preconditions, and always respecting Cuba's sovereignty and independence. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt was asked about the Cuban leader's remarks.
The fact that the Cuban government is on its last leg and its country is about to collapse, they should be wise in their statements directed towards the president of the United States. But as I just reiterated, the president is always willing to engage in diplomacy, and I believe that's something that is taking place, in fact, with the Cuban government.
So the interesting thing about the Cuban government is they say they want to have talks with the United States without any conditions or impacts on their sovereignty. They are sovereign, they are independent, but as an island communist prison nation, they have been wholly dependent on external support the entire time this regime has been in power. You see, they can't support themselves. They're collapsing. Venezuela, the same thing happened. Venezuela collapsed under the same type of government, couldn't pump its own oil out of the ground, which it's got more of than any other country on earth, and enrich itself and its own people at the exact same time. Cuba's got the exact same problem. They need external help, which is why the Soviets and now the Russians have just been so happy to help them out, and why Venezuela was helping them out. You see, you had a whole regime support apparatus going on here, which kept places like Cuba and Venezuela and Iran alive. And the idea that the Cuban government is going to come to some talk with leverage, what leverage do they have over the United States? Their oil was coming from Venezuela. A lot of their imports were coming from Mexico. Mexico has cut them off. And the Venezuelan oil imports, well, those might come back, but look at this, if they do come back, who's going to be controlling them? Oh, look at that. The United States is going to be controlling those oil imports. And when Venezuela is where you get your oil, you get Venezuelan corruption and Russian influence with that oil and that gasoline. But when the U.S. has to do it, that's not going to come with the power anymore, is it? No, this oil, you better believe this is going to come with conditions for a peaceful transfer of power, which is something nobody ever thought was ever going to be on the table.
Administration threatened to impose additional tariffs on any country that supplies oil to Cuba. President Trump addressing the crisis there earlier
Energy
this
diplomacy.
week.
It's a failed nation now, and they're not getting any money from Venezuela.
Today, Congressman Carlos Jimenez urging airline CEOs to end flights to Cuba.
This regime is totally isolated. If there's no flights, because when the planes fly in, they can't get off the runway because there's no fuel to get them off the runway, the writing is on the wall. This is not going to last for very long. And critics of this are going to say, well, the Trump administration is just bullying poor Cuba. Cuba's a great place. They've got free healthcare. They've got better hospitals than we have in America. We hear this stuff all the time. But the reality is Cuba oppresses its people. And it was doing it with the help of countries like Venezuela and Mexico, who were propping up these dictators. And according to Amnesty International, Cuba flunks the human rights checklist here. Freedom of expression is severely limited. Authorities label activists and journalists as common criminals, mercenaries, and foreign agents. That's what you are if you're a journalist in Cuba. And you know what happens to foreign agents in Cuba? Yeah, they get locked up, and they don't have due process over there. They have a process, but it ain't due. Arbitrary arrests and detentions. They've subjected artists, intellectuals, and other critical voices to arbitrary detention, including in their homes, with serious implications for their privacy and right to freedom of movement. That's not a free society. This is a society that is collapsing, and the only reason it can't rise up is because it's an island, which is hard to escape from. It's hard for people there to get external support of any kind, and people are in trouble economically. They don't have the ability to do anything other than try to get food for tomorrow, and they're already living in a crushed economy that's stuck 50 years in the past. This place ground to a halt years ago, and now it is on its last legs.
To Dr. Orlando Gutierrez Boronat with the Assembly of the Cuban Resistance.
The oil embargo placed on the U.S., on the Castro regime, is the only way to force that regime to restore rights and freedoms to the Cuban people and to cease repression.
While Dr. Gutierrez Boronat says a conversation between the two nations may not immediately lead to change in Cuba, he believes a breakthrough is coming.
I think what can work is using international pressure, using economic pressure, using support for the Cuban people, to try and drive a wedge between factions within that regime to bring about real change. And I think it's the closest we've ever been.
So, interesting statement here. He says that without this oil, the Cuban regime cannot survive. And that means because they've had oil and because they've had external support, because they cannot support themselves, they have been allowed to survive for decades. Think about that. The world has stood idly by while this regime propped itself up, harmed its people, impoverished them, stole their future. And now there's talk that, oh, Trump is somehow not doing the right thing by going in here and effecting regime change. This is a good thing for the people of Cuba. They shouldn't be living in a place where they don't have any human rights and where they can never have a future because their government has chosen despotic communism.
Researcher at the University of Texas tells ABC News Cuba's economic collapse is imminent.
We don't see a light at the end of this tunnel.
What does taking away Venezuelan oil mean for the country of Cuba?
A total collapse. When you're short diesel, now you're talking about transport. You're talking about diesel for the tractors and agriculture. Now this really impacts the economy of the country.
Yep, sure does. And here's the other problem. There's no way for any other country to supply Cuba with the amount of oil that it needs in a cost-effective manner. Venezuela's right there. For years, these two dictatorships were just a match made in hell together, supporting each other. Venezuela was shipping its oil over to Cuba. Cuba was sending security forces over to Venezuela to help run that Maduro regime and oppress the Venezuelan people. So this was their tit for tat that kept these guys afloat. And since the oil was coming from so close, it was very cheap, it was very plentiful, but if you're going to try to truck that around the globe from a place like Iran with the help of Russian oil tankers, it's just not going to happen. And those tankers, when they come over, they're getting chased away, they're getting seized, that oil's getting redirected to the U.S. Strategic Reserve. This is not a plan that can keep this place afloat. The only way it can survive is with the Venezuelan oil that it used to have, which is now controlled by the U.S.
Crisis, the Cuban government is implementing a 4-day work week and restricting fuel sales. Ordinary Cubans are struggling to adapt. Vehicle owners are limited to 20 litres of petrol, purchased through an app with long wait times. Alexander Diaz is a taxi driver, but without fuel for his car, he's had to find work elsewhere.
I had to park the motorcycle, park the car, take a bicycle and work in construction. It had been a long time since I worked in construction.
Street vendor Luke.
Now, there's going to be people that see this and say that this is all Trump's fault. But you got to ask yourself something. Why is it that this government can't support itself? Why is it 100% reliant on external forces to keep itself going? Why does it have no economy? Is that the fault of a president that just came into office 2 years ago? Or is that the fault of an economic system called communism that has brought poverty to every single country that has tried it? There has never been a communist country where the people of that country and the government experienced bountiful plenty that overflowed and allowed them to feed themselves and the rest of the world. That's not ever happened in world history. And we're seeing it right here on the streets of Cuba. These people are suffering. They're not suffering because of somebody that's been president for a year and a half. Instead, they're suffering because they don't have rights. They can't produce anything. They have no economy. They cannot do things to benefit their own lives whatsoever. And if they speak out against that, they go to prison.
That he might face supply issues soon.
Food will become scarce if the trucks that transport supplies stop coming. The town is really going to be in need.
This latest fuel shortage is aggravating an already difficult situation in the communist country. Cuba has faced a U.S. trade embargo since 1962 and has for years dealt with power cuts and shortages of fuel, medicine, and food.
So they've had shortages for decades. And it's not like nobody was allowed to do anything with Cuba. Mexico was trading with Cuba, Venezuela, a whole bunch of countries, Russia, China, you name it. It's just the U.S. wasn't doing anything with Cuba. It's not that the United States had some responsibility to keep Cuba afloat. No, if Cuba's a sovereign nation, as their leader says, and if they want to come to the negotiating table without any preconceived conditions and they want to be respected and not be dependent on anybody, well, that's impossible because they're totally dependent. They always have been. And the sad thing is that the only thing worth exporting that this communist government could come up with was to send its own corruption to Venezuela in exchange for fuel and gasoline so that the place wouldn't just be a rock floating in the ocean, so that there would actually be an economy and some sort of infrastructure there, none of which is sufficient at all to benefit the lives of these people who've been struggling.
Immigrated to the U.S. in the 1950s, settling in Miami, the beating heart of the Cuban exile community and decidedly anti-communist. The fate of Cuba is deeply personal to Rubio, who rejects the idea that the U.S. embargo was the cause of the island's economic malaise.
We would love to see the regime there change. The suffering in the rural areas of Cuba are acute and they're deep. And it's not because of the embargo. It's because they don't know how to run an economy.
Right.
Do you see Rubio's hand guiding a lot of these actions?
We have a very unpredictable president. And while Rubio may have a very coherent perspective on Cuba, we don't know how that unfolds. I think that the regime in its current form, without any outside aid.
Right. They need outside aid. And look who they're getting it from. They're not getting it from countries that have become allies of the United States at all. No. And the other thing that's very interesting about this is you have Cuba and you have Florida, which is very close, where you have a massive Cuban population. And the people in Florida who are Cuban Americans are thriving. The people in Cuba are not thriving. You've got the same people. One is succeeding wildly. The other's living in abject poverty. What does that tell you? It has nothing to do with the United States embargo. It's not the U.S.'s job to keep Cuba afloat. Cuba's been doing what it can to keep itself afloat, teaming up with America's enemies to do that while its people stay oppressed. It's the system of this country that has run it into the ground. It's on its last legs. It's been there for a long time. And the good news is, with Venezuela's dictatorship out of the picture, perhaps freedom could come to Havana, too, in the near future. Wouldn't that be awesome? I happen to think so. What do you think? I'll see you in the next video.
Makes sense.
Well, let's turn to some new details just coming in from the war with Iran. U.S. Central Command just wrapped up a briefing on day 6 of this war. Our investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy is in the newsroom tracking what is unfolding in the Middle East, but also what's unfolding in Washington tonight. Chuck?
Stephen, Central Command leader Admiral Brad Cooper saying that U.S. B-2 bombers right now are dropping bunker buster bombs targeting buried ballistic missile storage facilities in Iran. Admiral Cooper saying that more than 30 Iranian ships have now been bombarded since the airstrike started last Saturday. CENTCOM, headquartered in Tampa, Florida, now saying the latest Iranian battleships to be hit by U.S. missiles include a drone transport that was the size of an aircraft carrier. Department of War officials saying they sunk that warship. They say ballistic missile attacks have been reduced 90%, and that Iran's drone attacks are down 83%.
These days, we're spending a lot of time shooting down $100,000 drones with $10,000 weapons from ours. Oh, and if you don't know, this was an original Iran.
$100,000 drones with $10,000 weapons. That was all. Yo, we shooting down $100,000 drones with $10,000 weapons.
Iran's drone attacks are down 83%.
These days, we're spending a lot of time shooting down $100,000 drones with $10,000 weapons from ours. Oh, and if you don't know, this was an original Iranian drone design. We captured it, pulled the guts out, sent it back to America, put a little Made America on it, brought it back here, and we're shooting it at the Iranians.
Our forces are executing.
Yo, man, niggas need to stop acting. Yo, America ain't fucking playing. Not while we on this planet. These motherfuckers is really real.
These days, we're spending a lot of time shooting down $100,000 drones with $10,000 weapons from ours. Oh, and if you don't know, this was an original Iranian drone design. We captured it, pulled the guts out, sent it back to America, put a little Made America on it, brought it back here, and we're shooting it at the Iranians.
Our forces are executing with unmatched skill.
That's
and the mission is advancing decisively.
That's raw.
This is the kind of no-nonsense, results-driven warfighting that America demands.
Taking the guts out, putting the U.S. stamp on it, and firing it back at your ass.
The President and the Secretary of Defense have not ruled out sending ground forces to Iran. The Iranian foreign minister tonight says the leadership there that's still alive expects a U.S. ground invasion. He talks about that on NBC Nightly News in an exclusive interview with Tom Yanis, beginning right here at 5:30.
All right. Chuck Gowdy in our newsroom tonight with the latest. Thank you.
Thanks.
The United States airstrike a girls' elementary school and kill 175 people?
Not that we know of, Sean, and the Department of War is investigating this matter, and I would just tell you very strongly, the United States of America does not target civilians, unlike the rogue Iranian regime that targets civilians, that kills children, that has killed thousands of their own people in the past several weeks, and uses propaganda quite effectively, and unfortunately, many people in this room have fallen for that propaganda, so I would caution you from pointing the finger at the United States of America when it comes to targeting civilians, because that's not something that these armed forces do. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline.
How it go? I got a couple of news clips. Man shot and killed during confrontation at girlfriend's house 18 minutes ago.
We did a whole segment on domestic violence yesterday on the show, and it's cropped up again.
We're seeing an increasing number of domestic violence incidents. And then this incident, where domestic violence in a home led to a man being shot to death.
Yes, the man. Morgan is on this. Morgan.
Hey, Mike, Alex, good morning. So this happened around 11:30 last night on South Peach Street. Police say they received a call of a shooting, and when they arrived to the scene, that's when they found a 30-year-old man lying on the ground with a gunshot wound to his face. Now, police say that this all started as some type of domestic incident. It started as a verbal altercation and may have turned physical. And Chief Small says that the 30-year-old came to this home where his girlfriend lives with her children, and that's when a family member of the girlfriend stepped in, and that family member ended up firing one shot to the victim's face. We know that both the female and that person were both taken to be interviewed by the homicide detectives, but still definitely a lot of moving parts to the story.
A cousin, brother, or whatever.
Altercation. We know it was a verbal altercation and possibly a physical altercation between a 30-year-old male and his girlfriend, and then a family member of the female intervened. And our preliminary information is that family member fired one shot, striking the victim in the face. Now, everybody did remain on scene, and they are cooperating with police.
Now, earlier this morning, police say were holding a Tesla that was in front of the home, and police say that it did belong to that 30-year-old victim. It has been towed away, and then also in front of this home, you can see there is a Ring camera, so we know that police are going to be using that surveillance as part of their investigation, which, of course, right now we're still in the early stages, so hopefully we get some new details. Now, about 20 minutes ago, we saw the sister of the girlfriend who lives here climbing through the window to get into the home, so again, the scene was active, but it has cleared in
What the hell
really
she
the last
climbed
30
through the window
minutes.
for?
Mike, Alex.
So a family member steps in. Interesting. All right, Morgan. More info will come out in the next couple hours about that one.
I have no
Man,
idea
it
what
has been
happened.
a busy night. Then this other break.
Man, yeah, y'all getting busy. Boy shoots, kills mom's boyfriend during altercation. Philly be wildin'.
We begin with breaking news. A horrifying ordeal played out inside a Southwest Philadelphia home. A young child witnessed his mother in a fight with her boyfriend. The child then grabbed a gun and fired a shot, killing the man.
Damn.
News reporter Catherine Scott is live on the scene, the 1100 block of
Philly, get it in.
Tragic story. Catherine.
Matt, police were here for hours overnight gathering evidence. They were also interviewing the family members which were inside the home. You can see they
Little
opened
boy,
Peach Street.
little
They've,
whoever.
Cleared the scene right now.
Grabbed the
Sources
blinky,
say
the biscuit, the
11-year-old boy
burner.
fatally shot his mother's boyfriend during an altercation between the couple. The 911 call came in last night shortly after 11:30 p.m. Police were called to Peach Street near Florence Avenue here in Southwest Philadelphia. Arriving officers and medics found the 30-year-old boyfriend lying on the floor of the second.
Oh, John, it's the update. So a family member, this is crazy. We found out a family member killed this boyfriend, but a kid, the child's kid, the mom's kid, killed the 30-year-old, yo.
An 11-year-old boy fatally shot his mother's boyfriend. They've cleared the scene right now. Police sources say an 11-year-old boy fatally shot his mother's boyfriend during an altercation between the couple. The 911 call came in last night shortly after 11:30 p.m. Police were called to Peach Street near Florence Avenue here in Southwest Philadelphia. Arriving officers and medics found the 30-year-old boyfriend lying on the floor of the second-floor bedroom.
Shot in the
He
face.
was unresponsive, suffering from a gunshot wound to the face. He was pronounced dead a short time later. Police say the boyfriend showed up to the house where his girlfriend lives with her children and got into a fight with her. Police sources tell us that's when her young son grabbed the gun.
There was an altercation. We know it was a verbal altercation and possibly a physical altercation between a 30-year-old male and his girlfriend, and then a family member of the female.
Of the kid.
intervened. And our preliminary information is that family member fired one shot, striking the victim in the face.
An Action News police source tells us that family member was an 11-year-old boy. We're told both he and his mother are cooperating with detectives, and they're being interviewed by the Homicide Division. Again, this all remains under investigation this morning.
11-year-old blasted him.
Action News.
Catherine, thank you for the update.
You don't even think that's gonna happen to your dumb ass. Damn.
An assault victim wants answers after a judge gave her attacker what she is calling a low bond. This is his third arrest for punching strangers in the face. Channel 2's Taisha Fernandez is live outside the Fulton County Courthouse in downtown Atlanta. Taisha, that's where you worked all day to get that victim some answers.
Dang,
Wendy, when
11
suspects
years
end up
old,
in state
to
court,
the
which is in
face.
this building right behind me for the first time on misdemeanor charges, by law, judges have to give them a bond. But when you get to the second and third offense, judges have discretion, including setting a higher bond.
When is enough enough? It took me a week with phone calls and text messages to convince the victim in this video to tell her story. She finally agreed when she learned we spent days finding out why her alleged attacker, Jamil Malik Davis, keeps getting out on bond when police have arrested him 3 times for punching 3 different strangers in the face. I'm grateful you're doing this story because the Fulton County residents need to know who they're voting for. We learned this state court judge, J. Jesse Lowell, gave Davis his latest bond. The city fought hard in wanting I think a $10,000 or a $5,000 cash bond, and instead she did it as a security bond, so he got out on $300. I reached out to the court administrator and asked to speak to the judge to find out why the bond was set at $3,000. He said judges can't comment on open cases. The victim we spoke to believes Davis needs help and was shocked when she says no one addressed that in the bond hearing and let him walk free with no resources. We're trying to bring the World Cup here. We have the Super Bowl here. We have to, if we're bringing all these visitors to the city, then they need to know that they're going to be safe.
Police are looking for Davis as we speak because there's a Douglas County warrant out for violating probation. And here in Fulton, there's an arraignment hearing scheduled for April 15th. We will stay on the story. We're live outside the Fulton County Courthouse, downtown Atlanta. Taisha Fernandez, Channel 2 Action News.
He's swinging on motherfuckers in the courthouse. That nigga got bonded and swinging on motherfuckers in the courthouse. This is fucking ridiculous, yo. What this wild...
And good morning, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk. We want to update you on a story that has really gripped Cleveland and really Northeast Ohio.
Oh, yo, this was crazy.
This case continues to unfold, and so we want to make sure we've given you the most updated information. We've just gotten a press release from the city of Cleveland to sort of update this.
This lady wild.
So we're going to try and walk you through this case because it
Yo,
is
y'all
so
understand? I need to do. Yo, two
it
girls found in
starts Monday
suitcases.
evening, and we want to show you video from when this occurred. This is on the east side of Cleveland, really near the Ginn Academy. And at this point, it was called in as a man who was walking his dog, and his dog smelled something, for the lack of a better term, hit on something. And the man investigated, and it appeared to be a suitcase that was partially buried or buried in a shallow, what police called a shallow grave. Immediately, they began searching that area. They do find that first suitcase, and there was a child's body in there. They start searching the rest of the area. You can kind of see it's a wooded area. As they begin to search that that area, they find a second suitcase that is also partially buried or in a shallow grave and also contains the body of a young child. And so that's where the case evolved as far as Monday night into Tuesday. A little bit of information came out Tuesday that it appears that the DNA from testing the DNA from the two children, that they appeared to be at least half sisters. And that really started the investigation. And from what the Cleveland police say in this press release, that the homicide unit launched in an intensive investigation working to develop leads through area canvassing, witness interviews, and the review of available surveillance footage. Despite limited initial evidence, detectives worked quickly and methodically to advance the investigation. That goes through the course of a day or two. And I want to show you exactly where we are talking in the city of Cleveland on the east side, just so that if you're familiar with the area, that you might be able to just see where we're talking. You can see I-90 on the east side, and we are focusing in on where that red bullet point is. It is the intersection of Midland Avenue and East 162nd. You can see it's just a half a block away from Ginn Academy, and it's really this wooded area that you see on the back of this, what they call Saranac Playground. You see the trees before those what look like semi-trailers. That's the area that these two suitcases and the two young girls' bodies were found. Let's fast forward to yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, police are back out at that scene after really opening that area up. And I want to make sure we've got the right video here. They go back out to the area to search a home that they develop information on, and they get a search warrant for a house in...
Yeah, people, this is as recent as is recent. 18 hours ago, woman arrested for murder as investigation into two deaths of two girls found in suitcases continues, which... Man, yo, I'm trying to think. Woman arrested after girls' bodies found in... That shit wild as a motherfucker. Yo, I like law and crime. We're going to watch this.
It was halfway buried. It's about this thick. It's about halfway buried. I pulled it up, unzipped it. I couldn't really see, and I opened it up and... Yeah.
This is body cam video we just received in the last couple of hours. Showing footage of the chilling moment that police officers in Cleveland discovered the bodies of two young girls inside suitcases partially buried in a park near a school.
I got to change the thumbnail or something. This shit just in. Look at 12 hours ago, law and crime. I love them. Newly released body cam footage shows the moment Cleveland police approached the suitcase partially buried in a park after a man walking his dog reported finding what he appeared to be a child's body inside. Officers soon discovered a second suitcase 25 feet away containing another young girl. Investigators say the victims were half-sisters, believed to be roughly 8 to 14. Believe what? Later arrested 28-year-old Aaliyah Henderson in connection with the case, though authorities say many questions remain about the girls' identities, how they died in that relation. Man, this shit dumb recent. You putting bitches in suitcases? Kids? Man, I got to watch this shit. Y'all gonna watch it with me, though. This is fucking sick. I gotta change the title and everything. What
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah. This is the woman who police say is connected to the crime. What we know about her and how police tracked her down. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
Fucking sick.
We still have a lot of questions we're trying to get answered right now in this case out of Cleveland. It is a case that is horrific. It is chilling. And the big questions we are following right now, how did two young girls lose their lives? One of them possibly as young as just 8 years old.
Man, this.
I got you.
Oh, the world gonna change, man.
This is the moment a police officer walked up to one of the suitcases in the park on Cleveland's east side Monday night around 6:30. The suitcase was partially buried in the ground, but it was very visible. You can see as the officer walks up to it, it wasn't hidden in the trees or beyond the fence. The newly released body cam video, I will warn you, it has some very disturbing details that are tough to listen to, but I'll also tell you, you do not see what was inside the suitcase. Much of that has been redacted.
Good.
Now, police say they found a second suitcase after investigating this one. That was about 25 feet away, and they found another body in that suitcase. So you have the bodies of two young girls in two suitcases at this park. Now, before we get into the new information we are getting from police on the arrest and what we know about that person, I want to start with what we see at the beginning of this body cam video. This officer rolling up to this park and then meets the witness who called 911, who said they made the discovery of what was in the suitcase.
That's it. Wild.
Sick. So you can show me horizon.
Man, I got information already, yo.
How you doing, sir?
We're checking up right now.
Understood.
If you go, you can see the case from back here. It's all the way straight to the back.
Close to that sign?
Yeah, see the little black
straight ahead in front of me? Okay.
Straight,
It's a suitcase?
It's a suitcase. I've been walking past it for about a week now because I take my dog. I stay right here. I take my dog. I usually walk her through there and then come around here.
Okay.
And for the last week, she's been staying. It's like a mound of dirt. She's been stopped and sniffing like a little too long.
Okay.
And today I was like, well, I'm gonna take it. I hope it's not what I'm.
Right.
And it was halfway buried. It's about this thick. It's about halfway buried. I pulled it up, unzipped it. I couldn't really see, and I opened it up. And
buried under the dirt, it was?
Yeah, halfway.
Okay.
You can see a little part of it sticking out.
And you said you noticed it for about a week already?
Yeah, it's been sitting over there. It's like somebody buried it or tried to bury it.
I got these girls who are identified as Maura Wilson, 10 years old, and Miller Chapman, 8 years old. They were half-sisters. Authorities confirmed their identities through DNA testing. Suspect. Police arrested the girl's mother, Leah Henderson, 28. She had these kids at 18 and 20 and charged her with 2 counts of aggravated murder. Additional charges related to child endangerment are possible. She was scheduled for a court arraignment. Man, this is some shit.
And like I said, I walk my dog over there, and she keeps stopping it. She sniff a little too long. Right. You know, she sniffs stuff, and I'm like, I don't know.
So I had to pause it again. These bodies were found on the east side of Cleveland on March 2nd. It's 4 days ago. It's Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
What that is,
right.
I'm not going. And today I was just like, let me see what that really is.
Okay.
It's back there. I moved it up so it's kind of standing up and it stinks like it.
Okay. You right here at 670?
Yeah.
What was your name, sir?
Philip.
Philip? Okay. I'm going to check it out. I'll be with you.
The
Thank
mom, a 10 and an 8-year-old. I gotta change this fucking title, yo.
So this is a picture from Google Maps of the park. It is right outside of a school, and it's near a residential neighborhood where a man says he's regularly walking his dog at night, and he found this suitcase. And you heard him tell the officer that he actually believes the suitcase had been there for roughly a week, if not more. He says each time he would walk by it, his dog kept going up to it and kept showing it a lot of attention. And that night, he decided that it was time to see what was inside of the suitcase. And that's when he made the kind of discovery that lives with you forever, because you heard him tell the officer that as soon as he opened the suitcase, he saw a head inside. Now, as we continue this body cam video, the police officer then goes back to his cruiser, drives around to the other side of the park, and that's when he gets out and he makes his way to the suitcase to see for himself.
I got you.
Once again, the news is in. This became a 10 and an 8-year-old. I'm gonna help fast forward through some of it. This is crazy. That's the suitcase just half-ass buried. But then again, we're gonna find out what 25 feet away, it's gonna be another suitcase. What the fuck is people thinking, man?
Hey, are you still inside the district? Okay. I was gonna have you grab my flashlight, but that's all right. When you get up here, if you go down 162, like I went up Saranac, 162, you can just pull in this parking lot for this Ginn Academy, and you'll see me back here. So I haven't opened it yet. The dude I talked to, the caller, he said that there was this suitcase partially like buried in the ground that he said he's been noticing for like a week, and his dog keeps trying to get to it. So he said that he pulled it out today, and to see what was in there because it was kind of heavy, and he noticed like a head and hurry, he just left it and called the police. So I'll just wait till you guys get here before I open it. All right. Yeah, just come down towards like Midland, and I mean, as soon as you get to like the last drive for the school, you'll just pull in there. I'm in the back. All right. Bye. 14 to radio. Hi. Hey, Gil, are you still at the district by chance? Can you do me a favor, please? I left my flashlight in the sergeant's office. Are you able to run it up to me? I'm on this call on 162. Yeah, so if you go in there, right in front of, like on the side of the refrigerator, you'll see a flashlight. And then I'm on that call on 162nd and Midland. Appreciate it. Thanks, Gil.
This shit crazy. Yo, what was this lady thinking, yo? 28 years old with a 10 and an 8-year-old. Fucking mind, yo.
You notice this officer remains incredibly calm, very professional as all of this continues on. And you see in this video that he's looking at the suitcase that was partially buried in the ground. And again, it's very visible. Whoever the person was, and I know that there's been an arrest that we'll talk about here in just a moment, it does not seem that they did a lot to hide this suitcase that police say had the body of a young girl inside. And you just wonder, looking at it, how many people passed this by in the days that it was potentially there, not knowing the absolute horror of a situation that had taken place and the life that was lost and the body that was inside of that suitcase. As you watch the body cam video, the officer waits for backup to arrive. And once the backup gets there, they go back to the suitcase and they investigate.
We're going to have to look and see. I mean, it's like partially buried. He said it was sticking out for like a week. He finally decided to open it up.
I got more information on this. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just share the shit.
I just want to see. You flash your light on. I just want to see if there's any blood or anything on it. No? Yeah. You on? You bring it closer. I can't see. Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, it is. You look like a kid.
Yeah.
Yo, Reese, what up? What up?
I can't.
Like I said, I got some more information on this, just so you could actually look at, which explains how these bodies were found on March 2nd, 2026. A dog walker discovered a suitcase partially buried in the field, East 162nd Street and Midland Ave in Cleveland, South Collinwood neighborhood, Ginn Academy. When police searched the area, they found a second suitcase with another body nearby, which we haven't seen yet. Investigators said the body had likely been here for some time before discovery. Another child. During the search of the suspect's homes, police located a third child alive. The child appeared healthy, child has now been placed with Child Protective Services. Father speaks out. The father of one of the girls, Deshaun Chapman, says he's been trying to get custody of the girl for 5 years. He claims he repeatedly contacted courts and child services for help. Cause of death, authorities have not yet released the cause of death. The Cuyahoga County medical examiner is still conducting an investigation. Community reaction. Key takeaway, what initially looked like an under-identified homicide has quickly turned into a family murder case, with the mother now accused of killing her 2 daughters and burning them in suitcases in their home, yo. Shit crazy, man. You can't make this the fuck up, man. This shit, wow.
It's attached. It's just like folded in the fetal position.
It wasn't long after this suitcase that officers discover a second suitcase in this park. It's about 25 feet away. They also say it was partially buried. And inside of that suitcase was the body of another young girl. Law enforcement say these girls, their ages, they believe are between 10 and a half and 14. And then the other one is between 8 and a half and 13. Right now, law enforcement is waiting on information from the medical examiner in Cleveland to not just determine cause of death, but also positively identify these bodies. However, the medical examiner did say that preliminary DNA results show that these girls were related. They believe the girls were half sisters. The police report that we received from Cleveland PD still lists the girls' names as Jane Doe. Now, hours after police made this horrific discovery, there was an arrest that was reportedly made, and this is the person allegedly responsible, Aaliyah Henderson. She's 28 years old, and right now she is in jail in Cuyahoga County, Ohio, and she is listed as facing a charge of murder and child endangering. Cleveland police have not officially said her name yet, but neighbors tell WOIO-TV that Henderson lived in a home that was not far from the park. It was possibly right across the street, and it was at that home that authorities executed a search warrant Wednesday night. Here's what Cleveland police said as they were executing the search warrant before they arrested Henderson. This is per WKYC-TV.
This evening, our homicide unit conducted a search warrant here in this area of East 162nd and Midland. As part of that ongoing investigation and search warrant, the investigators were able to identify and detain a person of interest. At this point, the investigation obviously is ongoing. This person is going to be interviewed, and we hope to continue this investigation and gather more leads. This is not an arrest at the moment. It's just a person of interest that we're looking to talk to and gain some more information. As you can imagine, all our resources, every possible lead that we have been receiving, every possible agency that we're able to work with, we're working to arrest those responsible person or persons that are responsible for this crime.
Shit, real
Police
recent.
reportedly said that they took a person of interest into custody while serving a search warrant at that home across the street. And also in that home was a third child. But this child was alive, and this child appeared to be in good health, which is, if there's any good news in this story, and it can be hard to find at this point, the fact that that child is okay, that is certainly good news. We do know the child reportedly is in the custody now of the Department of Children and Families. Police have not said what the causes of death are for these 2 girls. We also don't know how long they were in the suitcases in the park, and we do not know when they died. This is what the chief of police in Cleveland said at a news conference.
Can you give any sort of update on the condition of the bodies? I know you said it's been some time. This isn't something that just happened, but any sort of...
So right now, the only thing we could say, there's no clear indicators. So there's nothing that's visible enough to determine what the cause of death was.
We had heard, Chief, that perhaps these children were malnourished. Is that something that you heard as well?
I don't have a comment on that. I would defer to the medical examiner once their results come out.
Were the individuals clothed?
I will also defer to the medical examiner on that at this time.
Now, it's unclear what Henderson's relationship is to the 2 girls. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation right now about that, but we're just waiting to hear it from police before we talk about it. Police were asked during that news conference about open missing persons cases, and this is what the chief said about that.
Are there missing persons, missing children that match the 2 girls that were found?
So it's a good question. We have checked locally, we have no reports of any missing children that match these identifications. We are checking statewide as well. We also have the assistance from our federal, state, and local partners. This is a priority. This is a traumatic event for our officers, for the community. And, this is just such a tragic incident. But we are trying to develop any leads we can. That's why we're also asking for the community's help.
even if police have a good idea on who these girls are at this point, and these girls were not entered as missing persons, we don't know how long, again, that they had been missing for. You still have to wonder at that age.
Yeah, which we have information on is the 10 and 8-year-old.
With girls between the ages of 8 and 14, such a social part of a young person's life where they start to build friends. And if they go to school, teachers look after them. You have to wonder what their lives were like and why no one had reported them missing, especially if what the dog walker said is true, that that suitcase was there for multiple days, a week, if not more. Why did nobody call in for these two girls, wondering where they were? Why did it have to take something like this, such a terrible discovery, for this case come to light? Those are some of the questions that we'll be watching to see if those get answered as this investigation continues on. But we want to be clear that this is still a very early part of this investigation, and police reiterated that today. Now, the Cleveland police chief did release a statement to media outlets, and it said this, quote, "These were two young lives with their entire futures ahead of them. Our detectives worked tirelessly and with great care to identify those responsible." And as reaction continues to come in, a more firmly worded quote from a Cleveland city councilman named Michael Polensik. He told TV station WOIO, quote, "What kind of monster demon would do this to two children? Just throw them away like they're garbage. No, not here, not in Collinwood. That didn't happen. We're not going to put up with that. There's got to be justice for these two kids." And then you have the mayor of Cleveland. His name is Justin Bibb. This is what he said, according to NBC News. Quote, "I want to thank our homicide detectives and members of the Division of Police for their incredible work in this case. Their dedication and persistence led to a quick arrest in connection with the tragic deaths of two young children whose bodies were discovered earlier this week. We love and protect our young people, and the loss of these two children is unimaginable." Now, we will continue to keep an eye on Henderson's court case as it moves forward. At the time of this recording, she has not been entered into a docket to appear in court. Arraignments typically happen in Ohio between 1 and 3 days after someone's arrest. We will keep you updated on this story as we continue to follow its developments. That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law and Crime. Subscribe to us on...
I know they got some more information on this case, which I'm about to get into. I just need a second to search it because I'm actually shocked. Like I said, they didn't have that, but these females were 8 and 10 years old, found Monday, and I am in the process of achieving more information on this horrific of a mother. I think we have some information on the dad. About to check this out now.
Our team coverage continues with 19 News reporter Harry Boomer. Harry spoke with a man who claims he is the father of one of those little girls. Harry joins us live with that.
Here we go.
That part of the story. Harry.
Let me tell you, Duffy, I'm standing here near both of the shallow graves. When I was out here a couple of hours ago, there were very few stuffed animals, but as you can see here and at the other one about 25 feet away, lots of stuffed animals. And yes, Deshaun Chapman was overcome with grief and anger as he comes to terms with the terrible truth. His precious little girl is dead. Her body found right over here in those shallow graves that I mentioned to you. Deshaun Chapman walking slowly in the rain toward the shallow grave where he says his daughter was buried.
I've been looking for my daughter for 5 years. I've been calling CPS, going to the courts, trying to get emergency custody, calling the police for welfare checks, but they denied all access.
The 8-and-a-half-year-old's body was partially buried in a suitcase at the edge of a field behind Gann Academy in South Collinwood. Chapman says he's working with police right now to prove he was the father of one of the little girls. We are not naming either girl until the medical examiner confirms their identities.
I'm still in contact with the detectives. We're doing the DNA samples, so I get more details within the next couple of days.
Chapman says the girl's mother has been avoiding him by moving around a lot. He says the last time he was able to see his daughter was when he helped buy her clothes for kindergarten.
Tell me what you're thinking, what you're feeling, believing that your daughter has been murdered.
What I'm feeling is hate. I ain't gonna lie, I feel hate. But I asked you numerous occasions, just give me my daughter. If it's too much for you, just give me my daughter. I just want my daughter.
Seeing where her body was buried, overwhelming. He had to be comforted by a friend.
I don't get how you can hate your own kids enough to kill them.
That's crazy,
to bury them, to do all this, and go right there to that home, right there.
Right across
and
the
live
street.
there where your kids is dead right here.
Right in front of you,
and
yo.
go be a mother to another child. Why you just killed your other two?
Now Deshaun Chapman wants changes to the system he says has denied him a chance to be a father.
Change these laws. Make it better. Men do have a say-so in their child's life, married, unmarried.
I have reached out to Child and Family Protective Services and CPD to find out if they were involved in any way with Mr. Chapman, if he's undertaken any DNA tests. But right now, I can tell you from watching him, his body language and his verbal language, he is a grieving father. I'm Harry Boomer, East 162nd, 19 News.
East Cleveland.
Look for continuing coverage as we uncover all the new information. We'll bring that to you on air and on 19 News Plus. Coming up, Aaliyah Henderson booked into jail for murder and child endangering. What do we know about her? Law enforcement sources tell us her arrest is connected to the two young girls that were found. It's coming up at 4:30.
They got to have more information on her. Sisters identified.
Alert. Breaking news right off the top. We now know the names of those sisters who died such horrific deaths.
They are 8-year-old Mila Chapman and 10-year-old Amor Wilson. That is Mila laying down on the bed, and that is Amor sitting up next to her. Two beautiful, innocent girls. Their lives stolen from them. Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Duffy.
I'm Tiffany Tucker. Thanks for joining us. Also breaking at 6 o'clock, the suspect now charged with 2 counts of aggravated murder.
Alex Brittany Weir takes us through what we know.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that. Oh. Give me the loot! Give me the loot! Give me the loot! Give me the loot! This is crazy. I'm not sure if you've been watching it, but yeah.
So far.
Yes, 28-year-old Aaliyah Henderson has been arrested in connection to this. She is currently here at the jail. Now, this all comes after the bodies of those 2 young girls were found stuffed inside suitcases and then buried in
across
shallow
the fucking
graves
street
on Cleveland's east side near Ginn Academy. And like you said,
yo, every time she walked out the fucking house.
Look at how investigators were able to track her down just 2 days later. This tragic case started with a dog walk Monday evening. A man and his dog were near East 162nd and Midland Avenue when the dog caught a scent in the field near Ginn Academy.
And for the last week, she's been stopped. It was like a mound of dirt. She's been stopped and sniffing like a little too long.
When officers arrived, they found a suitcase buried in a shallow grave. Inside, the body of a young child. A second suitcase with another body was found nearby. Cleveland police confirmed the 2 children were half-sisters, one between the ages of 8 and 13 years old, the second between 10 and 14. Wednesday night, officers served a search warrant at a home on East 162nd Street, just steps away from where those bodies were found.
So part of the investigation led us to this home, and it's been a nonstop, ongoing investigation. Our homicide unit, it's often not said, but they have been working around the clock in this investigation.
Neighbors told 19 News that Henderson lives at that home. She was booked into Cuyahoga County Jail for murder and child endangering.
what they've committed to this investigation, and they're working really hard to bring justice to these young girls.
It's out of fucking mind.
And they did share with us that when they arrested Henderson, they did find another child in that home. That child is now under the care of Family and Children Services. They're asking anyone with information about this case to please give them a call. In Cleveland, Brittany Weir, 19 News.
You gotta hear the dad, though. We gotta hear the dad again. That's just, that's the worst shit ever, yo. I don't know why this shit won't go back. That shit with the dad,
Thank you. Our team coverage continues with 19 News reporter Harry Boomer. Harry spoke with a man who claims he is the father of one of those little girls. Harry joins us live with that part of the story. Harry.
Let me tell you, Duffy, I'm standing here near both of the shallow graves. When I was out here a couple of hours ago, there were very few stuffed animals, but as you can see here and at the other one about 25 feet away, lots of stuffed animals. And yes, Deshaun Chapman was overcome with grief and anger as he comes to terms with the terrible truth.
Brittany, thank you. Our team coverage continues with 19 News reporter Harry Boomer. Harry spoke with a man who claims he is the father of one of those little girls. Harry joins us live with that part of the story. Harry.
Let me tell you, Duffy, I'm standing here near both of the shallow graves. When I was out here a couple of hours ago, there were very few stuffed animals, but as you can see here and at the other one about 25 feet away, lots of stuffed animals. And yes, Deshaun Chapman was overcome with grief and anger as he comes to terms with the terrible truth. His precious little girl is dead. Her body found right over here in those
the other
shallow
baby
graves that I
dads?
mentioned to you.
He's just one of them.
Deshaun Chapman walking slowly in the rain toward the shallow grave where he says his daughter was buried.
I've been looking for my daughter for 5 years. I've been calling CPS, going to the courts.
Been looking for her,
trying to get emergency custody, calling the police for welfare checks, but they denied all access.
The 8.5-year-old's body was partially buried in a suitcase at the edge of a field behind Gann Academy in South Collinwood. Chapman says he's working with police right now to prove he was the father of one of the little girls. We are not naming either girl until the medical examiner confirms their identities.
I'm still in contact with the detectives. We're doing the DNA samples, so I get more details within the next couple of days.
Chapman says the girl's mother has been avoiding him by moving around a lot. He says the last time he was able to see his daughter was when he helped buy her clothes for kindergarten.
Tell me what you're thinking, what you're feeling, believing that your daughter has been murdered.
What I'm feeling is hate. I ain't gonna lie, I feel hate. But I asked you numerous occasions, just give me my daughter. If it's too much for you, just give me my daughter. I just want my daughter.
Seeing where her body was buried, overwhelming. He had to be comforted by a friend.
I don't get how you can hate your own kids enough to kill them, to bury them, to do all this, and go right there to that home, right there, and live there where your kids is dead right here, and go be a mother to another child. Why you just killed your other two?
Now Deshaun Chapman wants changes to the system he says has denied him a chance to be a father.
Change these laws. Make it better. Men do have a say-so in their child's life, married, unmarried.
I have reached out to Child and Family Protective Services and CPD to find out if they were involved in any way with Mr. Chapman, if he's undertaken any DNA tests. But right now, I can tell you from watching him, his body language and his verbal language, he is a grieving father. I'm Harry Boomer, East 162nd, 19 News.
Look for continuing coverage as we uncover all the new information. We'll bring that to you on air and on 19 News Plus. Coming up, Aaliyah Henderson booked into jail for murder and child endangering. What do we know about her? Law enforcement sources tell us her arrest is connected to the two young girls that were found. It's coming up at 4:30.
It is a tragic mystery that has shaken that neighborhood. The details are disturbing. These were two little girls whose bodies were stuffed inside suitcases and buried in shallow graves for who knows how long. Police have not been able to determine that yet. Monday night, a man in South Collinwood was walking his dog when the dog started sniffing and digging at something. He was along a fence line near Ginn Academy on East 162nd Street. When the man walked over to see what the dog was getting into, he saw
And breaking news, Cleveland police have now charged a 28-year-old mother with 2 counts of aggravated murder in the deaths of 2 little girls found in suitcases, buried in shallow graves in a field in the South Collinwood neighborhood. Aaliyah Henderson was arrested after police swarmed a nearby home on East 162nd Street last evening. We've also learned those girls were 10-year-old Amor Wilson and 8-year-old Mila Chapman. As this investigation continues, a community continues to come to grips with the depths of this heartbreaking tragedy. That includes a man who says he's the father of one of those little girls. News 5's John Kosick spoke with him. He joins us now, live from that neighborhood.
Do the impossible, make sense of the senseless. Surrounded by friends for support, the man who tells us he is the father of one of the victims visits the site where the bodies of 2 girls were found this week, partially buried in suitcases. We're not disclosing his name, his face, or his daughter's name until confirmed by police.
She is happy, always smiling, always cheesing. She was a kid's kid, girly girl, kid's kid.
He told me he's been trying to get custody of his daughter, who was about to turn 9, for 5 years, but hasn't seen her for 4. As the girl's mother, he said, was constantly moving.
In the last 5 years, I done had so many different lawyers. Even the lawyers couldn't get it. They told me if I don't have no address for it, there's nothing we can do.
He saw the story of the 2 girls found on the news, not knowing who they were.
Me and my friends was just talking about how the world's sad with these little girls they found. Come to find out, it's my daughter and another young lady that I was a part of her life too.
He said it was only when he heard the names of the victims, still unconfirmed by authorities, that he called the police tip line.
I contacted them, went up there at 7 in the morning to dot all the I's, cross the T's.
And submitted DNA sample, he said. The police did not respond to requests to confirm. He said his daughter and her half-sister had a special relationship.
She loved her sister. She loved her sister because I was around with her more. So she loved her sister like the typical big sister, little sister, you know, knick-knack, mess with her, annoy her, but they love each other. Just happy. Family. Yeah, just a family, just want to be happy.
And as we come out to live pictures of the growing memorial here at the site off East 162nd Street, and we want to mention again that the medical examiner has released the names of the victims. And Deshaun Chapman, the man who we were talking to there, is the father of 8-year-old Mila, but he said he was also very close with Amor. So this is hitting them all very hard right now. And Katie, I want to tell you that as we stand here, Cleveland police are back at the house going through where they made that arrest last night as this investigation continues.
Just wanted to be together, just wanted to be happy. Like he said, seeing their beautiful faces, John, it is just growing in pain for so many, including that father. Thank you for that perspective, John. And again, Cleveland police have charged Aaliyah Henderson with 2 counts of aggravated murder in the deaths of her 2 little girls.
She probably fucked up.
Community activists are organizing a vigil for Amor and Mila. It's planned for tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock at or near where they were found.
His daughter was the
at East 162nd in Midland. We will be there for you and
10-year-old
continue
and
covering
8-year-old.
this story.
Mom's sick in the fucking head. Bury kids across the street. Sick ass.
She got a big ass body with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Big ass body with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Silverback, 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 with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch. little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Silverback, 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 she got a big ass body with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Silverback, silverback, silverback.
Wait.